Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos.
State of India's Birds Report 2023. What is this report? Who has released this report and what is its significance? All those details we must have to understand. Let us get into the details. State of India's Bird 2023. This is the report. Recently, this report has been released by the collaborative efforts of 13 government and non-governmental organizations. And what is the significance of the report and what is this report highlighting? It is saying that despite thriving of a few bird species, there is a substantial decrease in the bird species. Numerous bird species are showing substantial decrease in its population, and there are some birds which are thriving, which means their population is stable. Okay, so we must have to understand which type of birds are facing threats and which type of birds are safe and they are stable. That distinction we must have to understand. And the bodies or the organization who has taken efforts to create this report, the main ones are Bombay Natural History Society, Wildlife Institute of India, Zoological Survey of India, Wildlife Trust of India, and Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF India. Okay, so these are the main of these 13. The major ones are these organizations, and what are they doing? They are taking efforts for conservation status of the most of the regularly occurring bird species in India. Okay, so they are evaluating the conservation status of these birds, the regularly occurring bird species in India. Okay, so furthermore, understanding is needed. What are all the methodologies used in this report? First thing is, they have taken data from bird watchers. Approximately 30,000 bird watchers have given their data for this report, and then there are three primary indices based on which this assessment is made. First thing is long-term trend, which means if there is any observation changed, an observation made over the past 30 years, then that is called as long-term trend. Okay, so change over 30 years. An observation which is made over the past 30 years is long-term trend. Next is current annual trend. Current annual trend means change over the past 7 years. So if there is any change observed in the past 7 years, then that is called as current annual trend. And then distribution range size within India. So within India, the distribution range. All these three are the indices which are used for assessing birds in India in this particular report. Next, what are all the key highlights of the report? First, coming to the status of the birds. Like we saw, we have two different types of index. Okay, first thing is long-term trend and second is current trend, current annual trend. And of the 338 species which is identified with long-term trend, 60% have experienced declines, 29% are stable, and 11% have shown increase. And of 359 species that has been determined with current annual trends, okay, of those 39% are declining, 18% are rapidly declining, and 53% are stable, and the rest 8% are increasing. Okay, so these data are important. Next is increasing bird species, which means bird species which is showing consistent increase in its population or its population is stable. First thing is, despite general decline, there are some positive trends. Yes, the best example for this is Indian peafowl, that is a national bird, peacock, right? Okay, that is also called as Indian peafowl. It is showing a remarkable increase in both abundance and distribution. Okay, so peacock is growing in its numbers. It is showing remarkable increase in its abundance and also in distribution, which means it is getting distributed to various other spots in which it has not been found earlier. Okay, so it has expanded its range into newer habitats. Okay, it is going to new habitats like high altitude Himalayan regions and also rainforest regions in Western Ghats. High altitude Himalayan regions they are found, and also they are found in rainforest regions of Western Ghats. Generally peacocks are found in grasslands, okay, but then they are also found in high altitude regions and also rainforest regions of Western Ghats. These are the two new habitats of Indian peafowl, okay. Next is, there are other species of birds like Asian quail, house crow, rock pigeon and Alexandrian parakeet. These are also showing an increase, notable increase in its abundance since the year 2000. And there are two different types of birds like specialist and generalist. What is the difference between specialist and generalist? When its when its habitat is restricted to certain areas, that is called as specialist. But otherwise, which means its habitat is not restricted to certain areas, but it is also having a wide range of habitat, then that is called as generalist. Sorry. So when it is restricted to certain habitats like wetlands, rainforest and grasslands, then those are specialists. I'm sorry. And the observation made in this report is specialist is showing decline in its population. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. Specialists are showing decline in its population. Sorry. When it comes to generalists, that is generalists, that is birds that can live in multiple habitat types, then they are doing well as a group, which means they are performing well as a group in the sense they are doing, its population is consistently stable as a group. And specialists, however, are more threatened than generalists, obviously, right? Even in one of our previous session, I would have discussed about euryhaline and eurythermal, and then stenohaline and stenothermal. What is eury and steno organisms? That is those organisms which have different kind of adaptabilities. Okay, you can go have a look at those videos. Next is grassland species have declined by more than 50%. This is also important. Next, birds that are woodland specialists. What are woodland specialists? Those birds which grow in forest or plantation areas are called as woodland specialists. They have also shown decline more than the generalists, and then it indicates that there is a need to conserve natural forest habitats so that they provide habitat to these specialists, which are to which the special need is required. Next, migrant and resident birds. Migratory birds, there are many migratory birds, and among migratory birds there are two distinct variants, that is long distance migrants and then short distance migrants. And the long distance migrants, that is those birds which come from Eurasia and Arctic region to India, they are experiencing significant declines by more than 50%, which is followed by the short distance migrants. And then there are also shorebirds which are breeding in the Arctic regions. They are also showing a decline by close to 80%. All these statements can be directly asked in your prelims examination. This trend can be asked in your prelims examination. That is why this topic becomes important. And by contrast, residents, that is those species which are resident of a particular area. They are not migrating. They are not having this migration as an adaptation. Those birds are called as resident species, and they have remained much more stable when compared to the migrants. Okay. Next, diet and decline pattern. So is there any link between the diet taken by the birds and its population decline or its population increase? Yes, there is a direct link. For example, dietary requirements of the birds have also shown up in the abundance trend like we saw. And then the birds that feed on vertebrates and carrions. What are carrion? Carrions are flesh of dead animals is called as carrion, and then vertebrates we already know. Vertebrates are those organisms which have spinal cord. The basic understanding. Okay, so there are certain birds which feed on vertebrates like fishes, frogs, and then also the dead bodies or the flesh, the flesh of the dead animals. When there is a bird which is going to feed on vertebrates and carrions, they are facing decline in its population. That is the report saying. And then vultures, nearly driven to extinction by consuming carcasses contaminated with diclofenac. In one of our previous session, I have discussed in detail about the vultures, different types of vultures, and what are all the chemicals that is causing death to vultures and what is the reason behind it. The main reason is contamination with drugs, veterinary drugs. Okay, so when the vultures are going to consume those dead animals which have been taking throughout its lifetime these drugs, then it will also get affected by it. So this process is also called as biomagnification, where a particular toxin is getting accumulated from one organism to another. Okay, from when an organism from higher trophic level is going to consume an organism from the lower trophic level, then this happens. Okay, next is there are species of vultures like white-rumped vultures, Indian vultures, and red-headed vultures which are facing maximum declines like 98%, 95 and 91% respectively. Okay, so this is a major environmental concern with respect to vultures. That is use of veterinary drugs. Next is endemic and water birds. What are endemic birds? Which are belonging to that particular area. Okay, so those birds are called as endemic birds. So endemic birds unique to Western Ghats and Sri Lanka biodiversity hotspot. They have experienced rapid decline. Okay, so of 232 endemic species, many are inhabitants of rainforest. They are facing decline, and this indicates that there must be preservation of habitat. And then there are also ducks, water birds. When it comes to water birds, we have ducks, both resident and migratory. Even certain types of duck species are migratory species. Okay, so here both resident and migratory ducks are declining, and especially Bayer's pochard and then common pochard and Andaman teal. What are these? These are duck species. Okay, a question can be asked from this point also. What are these? Like Bayer's pochard, common pochard, Andaman teal. These are species of what? Duck. Okay, so they are all facing decline. They are all vulnerable. Next, riverine sandbar nesting birds are also declining. Okay, so there are certain areas called riverine sandbars. Okay, the sandbars which are formed in the river beds, there also nesting beds are there. Okay, so the birds which are doing nesting in those areas, they are facing decline due to multiple pressure on the rivers. Next, major threats. This report has highlighted several major threats. The first thing is forest degradation, yes, urbanization, of course, and then energy infrastructure. The best example for energy infrastructure here is windmills. Windmills is posing a great threat to birds. Next, environmental pollutants, like we saw, veterinary drugs like nimesulide, and then in the previous slide we saw diclofenac. These are the drugs which are causing a huge problem for vultures. Okay, they threat vulture population. And then there are also climate change issues which is going to affect migratory species. Other than that, avian disease happen. Okay, like bird flu is going to happen, are happening. And then illegal hunting and trade is also happening. To control this only, we are having CITES, okay, the convention, CITES. Okay, so all these are major threats for birds. Are there any other species which is specifically mentioned here? Yes. In this report, Sarus crane has been mentioned because its population is declining. And then of the 11 species of woodpeckers, 7 appear stable, 2 are declining and 2 are in rapid decline. And one best example here given is yellow crowned woodpecker, which is showing more than 70% decline in its population in the past 3 decades, which is alarming. Okay, so all these are important. Next comes bustards. Okay, while half of the bustards all over the world is threatened, there are 3 bustard species which are breeding in India. They are Great Indian Bustard, Lesser Floricon and Bengal Floricon, and these 3 species of bustards are facing decline in population because they are most vulnerable. So these are the bird species that has been mentioned in this particular report. So this report becomes important from your exam point of view. The next topic is